today by his wife Pam and son John. Now in his third year as mayor, we're once again pleased to present this year's State of the City address from Mayor Jessup.
I'm all carved up. I'm ready to take a nap. Thank you, Mike, for that kind introduction and for the wonderful job that you and your staff do to promote our great city. Friends, and my lovely wife, Pam, good morning. A few weeks ago, I was visited by my high school football coach, Bill Gray. We had lunch in this very building. And he said to me that day, he said, "Dean, Lawrence is beautiful today." And I said, "Coach, Lawrence is beautiful every day." Thank you very much for being here this morning. I can appreciate just how busy you all are, and so your presence is especially meaningful to me. It means that you care enough about your community to take the time out of that busy schedule to be reminded of where we have been and hear our thoughts about where we should go. Most Americans are busy these days. So busy with pressing day-to-day issues that it's difficult to stop and take the time to think about the past or to plan about the future. But right here, this setting, here we are steeped in history. We're standing on hallowed ground, on the exact site where thousands of brave young Americans prepared to defend our freedom. So it's easy to hearken to past heroes whose conduct serves as an example to us all. I'm thinking this morning about several leaders whom I have to imagine we all admire. Leaders who had strong beliefs and had no problem expressing them to political opponents, but who were willing to set aside differences for the greater good. No one fits that description better than Abraham Lincoln. And at this time, when Washington, D.C. seems mired in permanent gridlock, when some elected officials are willing to do anything to get their way and to thwart their opposition, President Lincoln's willingness to compose his cabinet with three men who were rivals for the Republican presidential nomination, as well as three Democrats, surely sets an example we should all follow. At one of the most crucial times in our nation's history, President Lincoln saw value in the opposition's viewpoint. Instead of vanquishing his defeated rivals, he sought their counsel. Instead of seeking to destroy would-be enemies, he built them up and pulled them close. And together, his team made astounding achievements that resonate to this day. Cooperation. That's one of the reasons we were able to balance the 2014 budget and made so many more advances in our city over the past year. Our new controller, Oscar Gutierrez, who has been nothing short of wonderful, has helped us identify innovative ways to tighten our belt, yet accomplish important measures such as providing a 3% raise in 2013 to our hardworking police officers and firefighters. I'm happy to say that the careful budgeting we've undertaken in Lawrence has resulted in an upgrade of our financial rating from Standard & Poor's. From an A- with a negative outlook when I took office to A with a stable outlook today. That's quite a feat in just 2 years, and it's heartening to see that the outside world recognizes and appreciates our work. Still, we know there are challenges ahead. Operating a city government in Indiana is never going to be easy. But we have made a great deal of progress toward righting our financial ship. And we can, and we will continue to make the tough choices that keep it sailing smoothly. One such decision was to contract with Republic Services. A decision that means we are providing the same good trash collection service to our residents, but saving the city money. We also are making it easier for our residents to recycle. And after just a couple of months, we have seen a participation rise from 35% to nearly 80%. We also ensured that any city trash collector who wanted a job with Republic could get one. 7 of the 9 have gone to work for the company. We were able to accomplish this important step in a bipartisan way because of the leadership of the council. Cooperation. The other reason that we've made great strides over the past 2 years was demonstrated by 2 other giants in the political world. President Ronald Reagan and House Speaker Tip O'Neill rarely saw eye to eye on anything, but they found ways to cooperate. Even stronger than their ideologies, according to O'Neill's son, was their commitment to getting things done. Cooperation and commitment. Here in Lawrence, cooperation and commitment have resulted in economic development successes such as Little Raymond's print shop, which in exchange for a temporary incentive package chose to locate its operation in Lawrence and grow its workforce over the next 3 years. That means 105 new jobs for our citizens and new revenues for our city. Cooperation and commitment have resulted in the establishment of Art Skillet, a welcomed addition as we endeavor to make Pendleton Pike a more attractive destination. Art Ugalde is a true success story, and he honors us by joining the Lawrence business community and by joining us today. Art, please stand up. Art was laid off from his job in 2012, a victim, like so many others, of the weak economy. That understandably had to be a terrible blow. But Art decided to make lemonade out of that lemon, maybe literally, and opened his breakfast and lunch restaurant at 8255 Pendleton Pike. Art is already contemplating an expansion, a nice patio for patrons to sit outside now that the weather has finally improved. Art Skillet, a great place, a great meal, and a great man. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
By the way, we hope to help Art with a facade grant made available from a program sponsored by our Redevelopment Commission and the Lawrence Community Development Corporation. If you know of any company along the Pike or on Franklin Road that needs a facelift, tell the owner to check out a facade grant. I mentioned the weather a moment ago, and that brings to mind another great Lawrence example of cooperation and commitment. Enormous commitment. Crews from our public works, utilities, and parks departments did yeoman's work this past winter. Our folks worked 12-hour shifts in terrible conditions, guaranteeing that the snow plowing operation never stopped over the course of 5 days in early January. The dedication continued throughout a very long winter. We had utility workers standing knee-deep in frigid water when water mains broke because of the extreme cold. Police officers and firefighters braved the cold and snow to rescue people who had no heat and to take them to shelter. And now we've got crews methodically moving through our streets, repairing an unusual number of potholes that have erupted. Many times our crew is on the scene the very day that they're reported. Cooperation and commitment. Let me say it as an aside that you don't get much more real than when you're picking up trash or treating sewage or plowing snow. Maybe that's why city government gets more done than Washington. I'm sure that's why we're accomplishing so much in Lawrence, because we're willing to get our hands dirty. Let me just mention a few other things that we have accomplished. We began work on a new water plant on Richard Street. Already the first building is completed and the dangerous and obsolete water tower has been dismantled. This work ultimately will ensure that our city can weather unusual events and will have a reliable supply of clean drinking water for years to come. We remediated the wetlands next to Monarch Beverage Company and will soon have a new park there. We'll be announcing the name in the next 2 weeks. We attracted Blue Ribbon Transport to locate here in Lawrence at a perfect location for a company that provides transportation and logistics for other firms. Blue Ribbon started with 21 employees but has now doubled their workforce to 45. Just think, 2 years ago, the buildings occupied by Blue Ribbon Transport, Little Raymond's Print Shop, and Art Skillet stood empty. Now they're housing vibrant, growing businesses. That's what comes of cooperation and commitment. We also have made sure that our citizens know what we're doing by publishing the monthly Lawrence Lift newsletter and regularly posting information online and in social media such as Facebook. Meanwhile, I've been visiting businesses, learning about our community's creativity and ingenuity and determination. So far, I've visited over 70 companies and schools on what we call WHEEL visits. That stands for Work, Educate, and Advance Lawrence. Seeing the diversity of fabulous companies here in Lawrence has been a highlight of my time in office. For example, Harris and Ford distributes chemicals and ingredients to food, personal care, cosmetic, pharmaceutical, and industrial customers. Can you imagine? Every ingredient except sugar and water that you will find in that can of Coke or Pepsi that you enjoy later this afternoon came from Harris and Ford right here in Lawrence. During these wheel visits, I've been asking questions and I've been listening to their ideas and